Hello, my name is Katie, you're on the channel To Be Read, and today I'm here with a review video for All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. Okay guys, so I have said this previously, but Colleen Hoover is an auto-buy author for me. Her books give me all the feels, and this book was no exception. So when I'm discussing this book, I'm going to split it into two sections. I'm going to have a spoiler-free discussion, which if you haven't read the book, you won't be spoiled. You're more than welcome to join in and listen to my feelings on this book. And then I'm going to have a spoilery discussion, which if you don't mind spoilers, you can stick around. And if you do mind spoilers, you can go and read the book and then come back and listen to my opinions on spoilery topics. In the spoilers section, I did note at the end of the book there were discussion questions, which I thought would be a good way to format the spoilery section. So, in the spoilery section, I am going to use the discussion questions as prompts. Okay guys, so our protagonists in the book are Graham and Quinn. And this is not a spoiler because it is right at the beginning of the book, but they meet after they get cheated on, or well, during when they're getting cheated on. And this is a chance encounter, and I always love the interesting encounters that these characters have with love interests. I never think it's ever just bumping into each other in the street. There's always something interesting about their meet cute, which I find to be a quality of Colleen Hoover's writing that I really appreciate. Through the novel, it is split up into different sections, and each chapter alternates between past and present, the then and the now. And it shows the relationship building, and then 8 years after they are married when the relationship is failing. And to see at the same time as being the relationship built up and just having those emotions of love and, oh, this is so adorable, I love this, oh, and then the next chapter everything is being torn apart and you're like, why? Why, Colleen, really? But this is what I expect from Colleen's work, that I am both built up with all these emotions and love for these characters, while at the same time she is tearing me apart in the next chapter, because there is something happening that just tears you apart. And my gosh guys, I love it. Yeah, I love having these emotions, and most of the times I stay away from books that I would mostly just fall apart in, seriously. But Colleen Hoover's books are ones that I can do that in, and I love feeling that way. So another thing I've noticed is that Colleen doesn't shy away from the tough topics, and this book has quite a few tough topics in it, and a lot about relationships and how to keep a relationship together, how relationships can very easily fall apart and they need to be nurtured, and I really do appreciate that. And they elicit conversations in people. So like previous novels like It Ends With Us had a extremely tough topic in it, and to have that discussed within a book and touched upon was very, very relevant. And I found that in this book, the topic that was touched upon is also very relevant in relationships, and one that I don't think I've read much on. And to have this in a book format was very appreciative. I was very appreciative. And it's something that you can then think about, because I actually know a couple of people that are going through this as well. And to have this topic discussed upon was something that I could relate to from a third party point of view, but I don't know what they're going through. So to have this gave me a slight amount of insight, and I really appreciated that. I will tell you what it is in the spoiler section. Overall, for the spoiler-free section, I'm sorry, I'm trying to discuss things in too much detail that you will then go, hey, that's a spoiler, because I'm trying not to spoil you. But overall, this book was like every other Colleen Hoover book for me. It tore me apart, put me back together, and I just fell in love with these characters. Graham and Quinn, I just wanted to put them in cotton wool and keep them safe. And Colleen Hoover, what are you doing to me? Anyway, no, I love her books, and if you love romance novels and you love the complex relationships, flawed characters, these are the novels you need to read, and I can't recommend them enough. Okay guys, warning! I am going in to this spoilery section of this video, so if you have not read this novel and do not want to be spoiled, I suggest you go and read this novel now. I recommend it to you if you like romance and flawed characters, and then come back and let's openly discuss the spoilery topics in this novel and why it's tore me apart and why I'm so appreciative to have a novel like this out there. But go read this book first and then come back. Hey guys! So you're back. I hope you enjoyed the novel. I know I did. And let's get into some spoilery topics, shall we? So to start off, I'm going to be using the discussion questions that Colleen Hoover has posted at the end of her novel to get the ball rolling and to voice my opinions on some of the topics that have been discussed within this novel. So I have my Kindle and I'm going to be reading off of that because that's how I read the book. And I'm going to read the introduction first that Colleen Hoover has, and then we'll get into the questions. So the introduction is, Quinn and Graham's relationship had an unconventional beginning. Both reeling from having been cheated on by their significant others, they part as odd acquaintances, only to meet up again months later and start up a whirlwind romance. They fall in love quickly. Their relationship is so easy that it seems destined to be. But 8 years into their marriage, the dreams they shared at the beginning seem impossibly out of reach, and the promises they made each other have turned sour as they hide from each other the anguish and frustration they feel at not being able to have children. There's the tough topic, guys. In the end, the reminder of who they were and how they felt for each other before this Category 5 struggle began might be the only way to save their marriage, or the irrefutable proof that they need to end a relationship between two people who no longer recognize each other as the person that they fell in love with. Guys, that is a great summary of the book, and it gives you the topics that are discussed upon about a relationship falling apart, miscommunication, infertility, the idea of fate, and is love at first sight a thing that happens, and I can really appreciate this, guys. The first question is, sitting in the hallway outside Ethan's apartment, Quinn cracks open a fortune cookie that reads, if you only shine a light on your flaws, all your perfects will dim. How does this foreshadow the present day scenes in the novel? Discuss the stark contrast between the then and now chapters. So I've said this before, guys, but the then and now chapters are the relationship being built up from the beginning and then the relationship falling apart 8 or 9 years later. So there is a huge stark contrast in this, and you can see the communication and how we are getting the budding beginnings of a romance, and then how the communication has just fallen flat on its head in 9 years' time. They don't know what has happened, but yeah, they feel they can't confide in each other anymore about this tough topic of infertility and how this relates to each other. I will then review what the question says, the foreshadowing of present day scenes in the novel. So they have gotten to a point in their relationship where the light has been shone on it. Their flaws have come to light. You've been in a relationship for 8 years. There are going to be flaws revealed. We are not perfect, because none of us are perfect. We are human, and to be able to have that relationship with someone, they need to accept you, flaws and all, but then you need to be brave enough to reveal those flaws and to confide in that person. And I feel that this novel is a discussion on that, and there is a stark contrast between the development of a relationship and the maintaining of a relationship. And I really liked in the novel there was a discussion Quinn had where she said that she had spoken to an elderly couple who'd been together forever, and what they said was they were not in love the whole duration of their relationship, but at times she would, you know, go through a rough patch and start not believing that they were in love again. She'd fall out of love, or she'd not believe that their relationship could make it through. And then in other times he would have the same emotions, but they never had it at the same time, and they could rely on the bolstering from the other partner in their relationship. And that just sounds like the ultimate relationship, because you're able to rely on your partner. And I found that a really great topic to have in this novel. Question 2. When we see them then, Quinn and Graham's relationship seems effortless. Now, faced with the challenges of the present that have built up over the 8 years of their marriage, their relationship could potentially fall apart in an instant. Can a relationship based on kismet last the test of time? Okay guys, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on the topic because I have relationship issues like everybody else, just to put it out there. And, you know, I've never had a kismet relationship. No, never. But, you know, you hear of them occasionally. And I think that if a kismet relationship is to last the test of time, there's got to be depth in there. There's got to be that trust, that communication, and they've got to build that up. So it can last the test of time. Any relationship can last the test of time, but the effort has got to be put in. And I think that sometimes a relationship can't last the test of time, and those are the ones where there is no respect and there's no trust or communication. We hear about domestic violence, and I don't think those relationships are necessarily healthy, but sometimes they are able to be mended, and I'm not going to make judgment on anyone else. And I do believe these discussions need to happen, but I don't want to get into topics that people are going to start, you know, yelling at me in the comments for. This is just my opinion, guys, and I think we should be free to express our own opinion even if other people don't have the same opinion. Question number 3. What began as a beautiful dream of shared parenthood with Graham becomes a single-minded and solitary obsession with conceiving for Quinn. Discuss the differences between how she was then versus now. How has her self-esteem and self-perception been affected by her inability to conceive? Okay guys, so at the beginning of the novel, Quinn was rather self-confident, and, you know, even though Ethan cheated on her, that's okay. She'll brush it off and she'll get on with life because he obviously wasn't meant to be. So, but Graham is, and Graham is the one that she absolutely loves, and she can tell the difference between the two of them. And when she gets to the point in her relationship where she realizes that she wants to be a mother and she wants to have a family with Graham, but then she realizes that she can't, and it's not anything biological with Graham, it is biological with her. So having that onus all on herself really diminishes her self-esteem, even though Graham says, you know, I love you either way, and she still can't hear it because all she can see is, well, he could have his family with someone else. I don't have to be in the picture. He could have his happily ever after with someone else. She can't see that he wants his happily ever after with her. All she can see is that she is infertile, and the self-perception and the self-esteem there related to infertility is something that is so prominent, and going through that event of depression and just knowing that you can never be something that you always wanted to be, and it will tear you apart from the inside out. And that is what is happening with Quinn through this novel, and the miscommunication there, because she doesn't want Graham to see her this way, and any touch or physical relationship that they have is always related back to conceiving and having a child that she really wants, so their physical relationship deteriorates because of that. And it is so sad to see, but it does happen. And having that ability to be open about it, and like, they've tried IVF, they've tried adoption, they're going to keep trying it, but they are not millionaires. They are everyday people, and everyday people don't have unlimited funds, and these things are expensive, so they can't just keep trying. And that's something that's not touched upon. Everyone hears, you don't have the ability to conceive naturally? Cool, there's IVF. Go for it. It's expensive. You can only have so many times before you've drained your bank account, before you earn so much debt that, having a child might not even be a possibility because you can't afford a child anymore. It is something that I've really appreciated in this novel, that there's a discussion on this. And, I am just in awe that this has been put into a book and that we get the opportunity to discuss this topic. Question number 4 is, Quinn and Graham's marital problems stem from miscommunication, misunderstandings and secrets. Why is it so hard for Quinn to express her true feelings to Graham? Why does Graham pour his heart out in letters only to lock them away in the box? Okay, I'm going to keep going with Quinn here for a minute. I think that Quinn finds it so difficult to relay this to Graham because she can't see him in the same light, because he could very easily go out and find someone else and have that family, but she can't, and she is still in love with him, and she doesn't want to lose him, while at the same time she knows that she is not in this relationship 100% anymore, and it hurts her every single time. So while she loves him, she's also in pain, and trying to find that even footing is something that is very hard for her. And every time she starts to discuss this topic, it just really impacts them emotionally. Now with Graham, he finds that he can more easily write down his emotions and then put them in the box, which I will get to the box later, but he's able to express himself in his letters, but then he never gives them to Quinn, and he leaves them in a box. So he's able to vent, but there's still no communication there, because he's had the communication with the pen and paper but hasn't been able to relay it to his partner, and that is a miscommunication right there. It's fantastic that he's able to get it out, but he needs to be able to communicate it with his partner. But he feels that any topic like this at the time is just going to tear her apart, because he can see how much pain she is in, and he does love her. They do still love each other, and that is causing all the more pain, and trying to find a way through this is just devastating. Question 5. Aside from the pressure she places on herself, society's expectations and others' constant questions of when she and Graham will have a child of their own weigh heavily on Quinn. In what ways did this affect her pursuit of motherhood and her relationship with Graham, her sister, Ava and others? Do you think she would have reacted differently if she'd had a better relationship with her own mother, or a support group of women who'd gone through the same experience? Okay guys, so I think support groups are really, really important. I think having that ability to relate with people that are going through something similar to what you are is a great outlet for people. And she didn't have a very strong relationship with her mother, and not having that strong mother figure, I think, really drove her to become a mother herself, and to become a mother that she wanted as a child. So that actually probably put more pressure on her. Not to mention that she was seeing her sister have this relationship and this marriage and have what she wanted. She wanted the family, and her sister was having it. So it then became very, very tough for her to then embrace her sister and embrace her nephews, and that was really, really hard for her, and it helped disintegrate that relationship. But it did, it did work out, and she really did work on her relationship with her sister, which is really great. With Graham, he was going through similar things, and you know, she could see that. And I've spoken about the miscommunication between them before, but him not having that relationship with a mother like hers probably didn't assist in the communication breakdown at all. Question number 6. On page 71, as she's getting over Ethan, Quinn thinks, when you associate yourself with another person for so long, it's difficult to become your own person again. However, think about everything Quinn has gone through to have a child with Graham. In what ways has she lost her identity to the concept of becoming a mother at any cost? Is she truly doing this for herself, for Graham, or for the people they imagined they would be 10 years from their wedding night? So in a way, she has lost her individual identity. Quinn was a publicist for an advertising firm. She was a wife. She had an identity, but as soon as the concept of motherhood and conceiving came up, that became her sole reason for being. And then when it didn't happen, that just drove the concept that she had lost her identity as a person. In one section of the book, she even went so far as to say that she was broken and not even really a productive human, because productive humans have working reproductive systems. They live, they are able to give birth, they die, they born, they live, they give birth, they die. She can't be a part of that cycle. There is a part missing from that cycle for her, and that then it just drove her entire identity, and she lost focus of herself and on the fact that she is a person, and there is more to her than just being able to reproduce. And while that would be a lovely part of life, she might not be able to be a part of that. But there are other ways, but she can't see that because she can't be a mother, and she's lost sight of that. Question number 7. In chapter 14, as Graham drunkenly confesses a fraction of his frustrations with how things have been going between them, Quinn now retreats deeper within to herself. What does this moment mean for their relationship? Discuss other ways in which the scene could have unfolded to avoid or worsen what had followed. Okay, so guys, their communication started, but there was no outlet for Quinn. She felt like she was being attacked almost, I guess. And then I believe if Quinn was in the right headspace to be hearing these frustrations from Graham and to understand his point of view, that conversation could have sprung the beginning of the development towards a reconciliation between them. But she was still going through the grief, and I mean, this was 2 years after the fact that they had realised that they couldn't conceive. But Quinn just couldn't get out of that cycle of believing that she couldn't conceive, and yeah, that's just, I don't know any other way that could have went, because I haven't had to have that conversation with anyone yet. I do believe having that space and having that time, and we need to make sure that in a relationship there is that time for things, that when we are utterly devastated, we are able to have that communication with our partners. But I think that needs to be cemented prior to a Category 5 incident, because in the midst of a Category 5 incident, you are not going to be receptive to developing a means of communication and a way for them to sit down and discuss things. This needs to be something that's developed earlier in the relationship, and have that means of communication between the two, whether it be, you know, nightly dinners where you sit down and communicate, or hey, there are shift workers out there. So, you know, having once a week where you sit down and go, okay, we're going to discuss our lives, what's been going on in my life and your life, because we are individuals in this together, and what our feelings are, how we are going, how much we still enjoy each other's company, how we still want to be in this relationship. Need to have that communication, and having that will hopefully help in Category 5 incidents. It might not work for everyone though. Question number 8. When Graham proposes on page 213, he asks Quinn to weather the Category 5 moments with him. In the midst of their struggle with not being able to have children, they both seem to have forgotten that promise. What do you think led each of them to believe that it was their sole responsibility to fix things? What stopped them from having the courage to confide in and confront one another? Okay guys, so again this comes down to miscommunication between the couple, and they each had a perception and they didn't communicate to each other because they felt that it would hurt each other. And that's what it came down to. Graham was so afraid of causing more pain to Quinn. And Quinn was in this cycle of depression and not understanding that Graham was there for her, because every time he tried to step up and provide a buffer for her, it just felt like he was being this kind person and she was letting him down. And those two alternate points of view just didn't work in this situation. And I think it's very horrible and it happens, and I was devastated reading this book and this part of the book especially, because I didn't want to see this couple break down. I wanted to see the communication, and I just wanted maybe someone from the outside, an outside point of view, to come in and go, okay guys, we're going to look at this and let's discuss this and try and begin the conversation between you, because you've got alternate points of view and you're causing pain when you try and communicate to each other, which you don't want to do. But we're going to find a way for the communication to cause as little pain as possible, because there will be some pain. Of course there's going to be some pain, but we're going to begin that communication here and now. Okay guys, so question number 9 is, on page 11, referring to Ethan's cheating on her with Sasha, Graham says, "Do not forgive him for this, Quinn." But he insists that she listened to his side before making a decision about them after his own indiscretion. Compare the two incidents of infidelity. Why did either man stray? Are either of them forgivable? What would you have done in Quinn's place? Okay guys, this is going to be a very tough topic, and don't hate on me here. So let's discuss Ethan's infidelity first. So Ethan's infidelity was 100% cheating on Quinn. He was having a physical relationship with another woman, which turned out to be Graham's girlfriend. And she came home early and found that they were in bed together and sat out in the hallway with Graham and waited for them to finish. Boy, that would not have been a pleasant time, I imagine. But, that was in a point in their life where they weren't married. They were about to get married like a week or two later, which probably hurt all the more. And that provided a realization for her that this was not the man for her. Now, Graham's infidelity was in the point of a Category 5 cyclone event, and he kissed another woman, and that, of course, is going to hurt. That is going to hurt so much. And I don't know if I could come back from something like that, even if it was just a kiss, because that's a level of intimacy that you are sharing with your partner, and you've not discussed sharing it with someone else. There's not that discussion there. It's just happened, and it's infidelity. And I don't know if I would be able to come back from that, because I'm not this couple. But understanding the situation behind it and knowing whether or not the individual can forgive and whether they can work in their marriage, it's an individual circumstance, I feel. And I feel that, look, he'd made a mistake. He is owning up to it. He still loves Quinn so much, and Quinn can forgive him for this. And it takes a lot for Quinn to forgive him. But that was something that they came to. And I really appreciate that it was their decision to come to this, and Quinn was able to spend that time apart and to reflect on herself before she made a decision about this. Question number 10. On page 200, an old man in his 80s who had been married for 60 years gives Quinn an honest marital advice, saying, Our marriage hasn't been perfect. No marriage is. There were times when she gave up on us. There were even more times when I gave up on us. The secret to our longevity is that we never gave up at the same time. How does this tie into the fortune Quinn reads at the beginning? Identify the moments in which each of them gave up. Did they ever both give up at the same time? How did they affect the outcome? Okay guys, so to start this off, I did mention the elderly man and the woman earlier, so I'm not going to go into that too much. But the concept of shining a light on their flaws, I'm going to go into more the giving up on each other part. So Quinn, through the novel, she was slowly giving up on Graham, because even though she loved him, she realised that if she can't be a mother and provide a child for Graham, that he could probably get that somewhere else. And if she couldn't provide it for him, then she should probably step aside. And she was giving up. And then at a point in time when she started to re-bolster herself, Graham was seeing the pain that she was going through, and in a sense he gave up when he cheated and kissed another woman on 2 separate occasions. It was not just once. And that was a point in time when he gave up. And then they came together at the end of the book at a point where they had both just basically given up. That was the point where they had both given up. But it was such a short period of time because they had this concept of the box, and they were able to then use the box as a tool to reignite that conversation and understand why they had gotten together and reignite that, really. And I felt that, you know, while they had both given up at the same time, they were able to then build themselves up again. Okay, so question 11. What role did the box play in Quinn and Graham's relationship? Did you think all the couples should go through a similar exercise? Okay guys, so we finally get to the concept of the box, which I've been alluding to this whole video. So the box had in it a letter from Graham and a couple other keepsakes, and the letter was on the wedding day and just basically providing a point of view of why we are getting married. This is us. This is how happy we are together. And if we need to open this box because we are about to get divorced and we have tried everything else, I really hope this isn't going to happen. But if it does, then we need to read this letter first. We need to open this box. This is going to be our Hail Mary. Before anything else goes, we need to read this box. Hey, and then if we get to 25 years in this relationship, we can then open the box and just enjoy the fact that we've had this amazing relationship with its ups and downs and that we love each other. And that's what this box was. So I think this was a really important part of the book and an important part of their relationship. And I believe it can be very successful in relationships. Both parties need to agree that this is something that they want to do. And it is a great exercise. And this would probably need to be a conversation upon engagement whether or not this would be something for the couple. And it's a great way to make sure that you have really went above and beyond to make sure that your relationship has lasted before you then decide whether or not it is working. The final question is, if you've read Colleen's Hopeless trilogy, Losing Hope, Hopeless and Finding Cinderella, you may notice a special cameo in the epilogue. If you know Six's story, what could this connection possibly mean for Quinn and Graham? Guys, I can't believe this, but I read this and went, Hopeless? What? I thought I'd read all of Colleen Hoover's books. No, there's another one. I am going to go source this book as soon as I finish this video, and I am going to find Hopeless. I am going to read Hopeless, and then I'm going to read the other 2 books in the series, and hopefully, this is going to be awesome, and I'm hoping maybe this means that they might be adopting Six. I don't know, I'm going to have to read. There might be something for Quinn and Graham in there, and I am really excited for this now. And yeah, so that is it for my discussion on the book All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. I really enjoyed this book, if you can't tell, and I felt like the topics in here are relevant to everyday life, and I love being built up and torn down and built up again, which is what Colleen Hoover's books are good for, and they're great for getting that discussion going on tough topics. I am giving this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I will absolutely read it again. I just love Colleen Hoover's works. That is all for this video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click on the subscribe button and the like button if you would like. And for now, keep calm and read on. Bye!